Thank you. Thank you very much for the introduction, and also I'd like to thank the Armed Forces of Sri Lanka for the nice invitation and the welcoming here. I'll talk today about the impact of the militarization of artificial intelligence, and I've been asked to talk about autonomous weapons system, which is a very narrow field of how you can weaponize artificial intelligence. I won't speak about other more current application you might have heard about deepfakes. We might talk about that in later in during the Q&A. So basically, this is the program in the next 15-20 minutes, what I'll talk about. So first, if you want to understand what is currently going on, you have to understand development in technology. And you may have heard about the so-called Moore's law that tells you that computing power doubles every 18 months. And so if you look at this graph, which is a logarithmic graph, it shows you all CPUs that have been developed since the 70s, and you see a very strong linear relations, which means that this Moore's law is pretty solid. Basically, that computing power doubles every 18 months. And so for artificial intelligence to work, you need two things. You need computing power and you need data. And with the creation, development of Internet of Things, we are generating an awful amount of data. It is estimated that currently we are generating about 250,000 Library of Congress of data on a daily basis. So which means that AI suddenly has blossomed. And so this graph shows you the amount of compute used in AI since 2012. Whereas doubling power period of the Moore's law is 18 months, here we have a doubling power of 3 to 4 months, which means that since 2012, the Moore's law increased by a factor of 12. But the computing power of algorithm increased by a factor of 300,000. So that gives you the magnitude of the change that we are currently witnessing. And so thoughts have been developed into introducing, obviously, using AI, artificial intelligence, in weapons. And so an autonomous weapons system is a weapon that could basically act independently, select its own set of targets, can redirect its objective if need be. And so you have two types of autonomy. Most of you will have something in mind like a drone that could be used autonomously. This is what we call autonomy in motion. But probably the most likely scenario is that the first real autonomous weapons system will emerge in the cyber domain, and I'll talk about that later in my presentation. So to qualify as an autonomous weapons system, you need to fulfill at least three criteria: to move independently through your environment, to select and fire upon targets in the own environment, and create and modify your own goal, incorporating new information and therefore changing the mission. So, if we look at developments of technology, especially missile technology, there has been a move towards more and more autonomous technology, but it was under the label of automation. So, homing was the first technology that was used in missiles. And what we've seen recently with AI is the ability to discriminate among targets, with the help of algorithms that do perform, for instance, facial recognition, as well as a loitering. So meaning that a missile weapon can stay over a certain area and decide when it will engage its target. So, and these two development and in target imagery discrimination and loitering are a push towards further autonomy. We have to understand that right now we don't have any system that are truly lethal autonomous weapon systems. Some people say that the Israeli RP's drones are autonomous weapon system. It depends how you define it, but what we're referring to here is a weapon that will be able to gain some kind of agency and learning through a learning behavior, and therefore is able to take decision on its own. We have weapon systems that are similar to this defense system, the Iron Dome, the Israeli system, for instance, but not to the extent that would qualify to a fully autonomous weapon system. But development in new drones like Neuron, for instance, in France, is a step towards acquiring this weapon. So the question I'm asking is, what will be the impact of this weapon on the way we wage war? So far, we have 4 mechanisms, if you want, for the military or the force to have an impact. The first one is destroying things. It's what we call denial. The second mechanism is punishment. Instead of targeting directly your target, you are targeting its population or its economic nodes. It's an indirect strategy. During the Cold War, because of nuclear weapons, the use of force of nuclear weapon was impossible, and thus a risk strategy, risk mechanism was introduced, where basically what you do is you increase the level of pain so as to have an impact on your adversary. In the end of the 80s, with the rise of GPS-guided munition, it was possible to discriminate very precisely, where during the first Gulf War in 1990-1991, you needed only one missile, one aircraft to destroy a single target, whereas in the past, Second World War, you would have needed 5,000 bombers and thousands of bombs. And so with AI, what we're witnessing and what we will witness is the emergence of a fifth mechanism that is called swarming. So the idea of swarming is a flock of birds or fishes where you have large numbers of units that are acting as a single whole, as a coherent whole. So what you do in terms of principle of the use of force, you are concentrating mass, firepower, speed into a specific area. And so we start to witness already these swarms, especially in the commercial sector. These pictures on your left, it was taken in Xi'an in China in May last year. This was at the time the record of flying drones in a single hole. This was about 1,300 drones, and 3 months later, Intel, for its 50th anniversary, flew 2018 drones simultaneously. It is impossible for a single human being to coordinate 2018 drones. So what Intel did was develop a program that could fly this drone and make different figures. I have to say that these swarming algorithms, they are not autonomous. They are pre-programmed. But what is interesting is that a company like Google has developed a database of algorithm where you can download for free algorithm on swarming. And so the military has obviously invested in that. The US in 2006 conducted this experiment where 103 micro-drone Spurdrix were launched from 2 F-18, and they were assigned 4 targets. And what you see, if you look at this video, is that these drones are assigned 4 different targets. First, they regroup, they deal with the first target, second, third, and fourth, and after the first target is being destroyed, they regroup into a holding pattern waiting for further instruction without any human input. Other experiments have been done when you have swarms basically doing swarms, squadrons doing dogfight between each other. And so by 2016, the US conducted a study on the future of autonomy, And what they realize, if you don't have to read the whole study, if you just read the summary, you'll see that autonomy is considered the silver bullet of the 21st century. And that for states to remain or to get the access, the status of great power, they'll have to invest in this technology. This is exactly what happened. Basically, that unleashed an arms race, and since then you have China, 2017, who set very clear goals by 2025, they're leader in cyber. The man in 2030, they are global leader in AI. In 2049. For the 100th anniversary of modern China, they are the new hegemon. Russia has also developed this year a coherent strategy on AI, and the US obviously investing also a lot into this technology. So what will this technology or the weaponization of artificial intelligence has as a consequence on strategic stability? Strategic stability refers to the condition that we are living in where you have an incentive or not to attack first. And with the advent of nuclear weapons, states have no incentive to attack first. This is the so-called concept of mutual assured destruction. Well, the argument I'm putting forward, and I'm an expert in Geneva at the group of experts on lethal autonomous weapons system, is that with swarming, what we might witness is actually a shift of the so-called offense-defense balance from a defensive dominant environment to an offensive dominant environment. Why so? Because basically these technology, and you'll see we can make a parallel with DDoS attack in the cyber domain, distributed denial of services attack, where basically you take control of computers, and then on a single request, this computer will log onto a server. And because there are so many requests for logging, the server will crash. This is what swarming is all about. And so in the cyber domain, we are already witnessing that kind of behavior. And the offensive has the upper hand. If that is the case, and we shift the offense-defense balance towards the offensive at the structural level, that means that the best way for you to protect is no longer waiting to be attacked, because the offensive has the upper hand, is attacking first. This is the concept of preemption. If preemption becomes international norms, this is a direct violation of Article 2.4 of the UN Charter that mentions that the use of force in international relation is prohibited. But as I said earlier, the first manifestation of fully autonomous weapons system will probably be in the cyber domain because there are less constraints and it's easier to develop. You don't have to create a physical weapon. In 2017, 3 college kids in the US, 21 years old, were playing the game of Minecraft. Minecraft is, if you want, 2.0 Lego, where you have to build cities, civilization out of bricks, digital bricks. And these 3 guys wanted to make some money. Basically, they were hosting on their server some players of Minecraft, and decided they wanted to increase the revenue generated by this activity. So instead of improving these services, they thought, what if we attack a competing server to redirect the traffic towards our own server? This is what they did. And they developed a botnet that, for the first time, used IoT, internet connected devices instead of computers. So they hijack CCTVs, they hijack connected fridge. And so they launched an attack, DDoS attack. And normally, the upper number of computers that are being used for a DDoS attack is around 100,000. Here they reach 600,000. And so they were generating up to $100,000 of revenue a month. And so after a while, because that started to attract some attention, they thought, well, we might be caught by the FBI. So they released the codes on the internet. 24 iterations later, a criminal organization used this Mirai botnet to attack a French company called DIN. And DIN is responsible for translating your HTTP address into IP address. They attacked DIN. By attacking DIN, they almost brought down the internet traffic between North America and Europe, and a country like Liberia was cut off of the internet for 3 days. The origin of this botnet, 3 college kids, 21 years old. And so just to show you that you don't have to have lots of resources, you have to be ingenious. And they were the first to actually use connected devices. Now, in the cyber domain, last year, in August last year, IBM developed a proof of concept called DeepLocker, which is a malware with a neural network. And basically, if this malware was trained to identify my face, they could embed this malware into any video application. And if you would look at a video, nothing would happen. But as soon as my face will show up, the malware will identify my face and unload its payload. And so this is just a proof of concept. At the same time, you had in 2017 a challenge where for the first time you had 7 computers that were attacking each other and defending each other. And so here what we see emerging is the increase of autonomy in the cyber domain. So it's not just state actors that have access to this technology, and this is basically the major problem that we are witnessing right now. A global governance system is not adequate to deal with emerging technologies, because all these technologies, not just AI, it's artificial intelligence, neurosciences, biotechnology, nanotechnology, and quantum computing. These technologies are dual use per nature. And so it's very difficult to track what is going on. If you look at ISIS were among the first. Well, first, they were the first organization to understand how to use and militarize social media. In 2010, I was helping friends setting up a company in Silicon Valley. I went to Facebook, talked to people there, very senior executive, just below Mark Zuckerberg, and I asked them, do you have anyone in your company looking at the socio-political implication for technology? And they look at me, what are you talking about? So I started to work on militarization of social media, submitted 2 academic articles by the end of 2010. They were rejected. It's a non-topic. 2011, you have the Arab Spring, where you see the first power of the aggregation of social media. And 2014, you see the first military uses of social media. ISIS understood that using hyperviolence for the virality of social media will have a strategic effect. They use that as a force multiplier. And then what they did later, they used commercial drones that you can buy on Amazon, replace the small pod underneath where that contains a camera, and replace it by hand grenades. During the Battle of Mosul, Iraqi army were losing up to 30 soldiers a week because of attacks conducted by ISIS using these drones. This is the first time the traditional military organizations are losing tactical air supremacy in warfare. So this had carried on. I mean, the Russians were attacked in 2018 by 13 drones, Hemim, and the bases in Syria, with these small drones carrying out these small bombs. And basically, this is what you start seeing on the market. You can see a multi-copter drone developed in 2017 in the US that has a machine gun that has the precision of a sniper. Same year in Dubai, you had a multi-copter drones holding a portable cruise missiles. In 2018, you have Belarus that equipped 4 drones to anti-tank weapon, making it basically a flying anti-tank weapon. And earlier this year, you have this video of AK-47 fitted with wings. And the purpose of the commercial is basically to say that it's a weapon to kill other offensive drones, but obviously you can use these drones for other purposes. And on the left at the top, it's a Chinese company in May earlier this year that released these drones that could be used in swarms, and they each can carry guns or grenades. And basically, these are the kind of things that you can find nowadays, and that will proliferate. So, if you look at this evolution, yeah.
1,000 precision strikes last year. We're super proud of it. It allows you to separate the bad guys from the good. It's a big deal. But we have something much bigger. Your kids probably have one of these, right? Not quite. Hell of a pilot? No. That skill is all AI. It's flying itself. Its processor can react 100 times faster than a human. The stochastic motion is an anti-sniper feature. Just like any mobile device these days, it has cameras and sensors, and just like your phones and social media apps, it does facial recognition. Inside here is 3 grams of shaped explosive.
3 grams of shaped explosives.
This is how it works.
Right. You don't see it? You don't see it? Just stop the movie, please. So basically, what was the movie all about? It's called Soderboard. It's a mini drone that is equipped with 3 grams of shaped explosive. And then you throw these drones, and it targets your front head. And it pierces your front head. This video was released in 2017 by a group that wants to ban autonomous weapon systems. So it's a fictional movie. But all the technology that is displayed in this small video exists. As a matter of fact, the Swiss Defense Research Agency, the Armor Swiss, did the experiment. 3 grams of shaped explosive, even 2 grams of shaped explosive, is lethal 100% of the time, even if you wear a helmet. The most difficult things to do in this experiment is to land the drones parallel to the front end. But this is just algorithmic calculation that needs to be done. So what are the consequences of this? What we see emerging, and this is the topic of the book I co-wrote with former colleagues from King's College. We published this book last June, and basically we come up with the concept of surrogate warfare. Transformation of warfare in the 21st century is going towards more and more surrogates. So states and non-state actors using human and technological surrogates. And this will change the way war has been conceptualized. You know, for those who study Clausewitz, the relationship between government, army, and citizen. By using the surrogates, the advantage is that you reduce your political weaknesses and exposure. But the problem is how to control the surrogates. And so this is a major issue that we will see in the future, and that will proliferate. So this is the military aspect of it. But beyond that, what is more important, it's not just the military aspect of AI, is that you have to understand that these technology display an exponential growth patterns. And the problem with that is that we are wired in a linear way. And so if you face with an exponential growth, whereas you think in a linear way, the more time passes, the more irrelevant you're becoming. So what you need to change, we need to change the way we educate people, because we need to think about possible futures. I told you before, you can weaponize AI, but you can use AI in different ways. Have you heard about deepfakes? Deepfakes are video where you take someone's face and you merge it on a video. This technology did not exist 18 months ago. The first video fake video appeared in December 2017. Less than 18 months later, they have more than 100,000 deepfake video on the web these days. And there has been a report that Chinese military are using deepfakes now to fake image satellite pictures. The pace at which technology develops creates a huge problem. Next year, we should have a CPU that has the computing power of a human brain, 2020. By 2045, 26 years from now, we should have a CPU that has the computing power of all the brains on Earth, all human brains in one CPU, 26 years from now. Okay? This computer here, I have more computing power than the best supercomputer in 1999. Think about that, how transformative these technologies are. So to conclude, what we'll see is an increased autonomy in weapons systems. And that is a fact. Last week at the UN in Geneva, there was a second meeting of this group of experts on autonomous weapons system. And there are more and more pushes against banning this weapon, especially coming from China, Russia, and the United States, because these states has realized that this technology is the silver bullet of the future. And so therefore what we'll see is more and more uses of technology as a surrogate, not just from state actors, but non-state actors alike, because the proliferation of this technology is very rapid. It's expensive to develop, but once it is developed, the proliferation is very important. And so that will probably shift advantage towards the offensive, and this will create some problems. And so it's not just about the military, but we need to think really carefully about the things that we are about to develop. If you take synthetic biology, for instance, you had the first synthetic biologist hackers that popped up towards the end of 2017 because they could use a technology called CRISPR-Cas9, which is genetic scissors, to cut parts of their DNA and replace it with something else. Now you have people all over the world playing with their own biology. Think about the consequences of this. And international governance systems have no way for now to deal with this issue. And I stop here. Thank you very much.